29 degrees in the far southeast. Now, to start the new week, again, it is a very similar day to come. Brightness across the south. It may turn a little bit brighter across northern England by the afternoon. A lot of rain across the north as well. But over the next couple of days, still got that cloud in the north and sunshine in the south. But as we go through Monday, Tuesday, those temperatures into the 30s.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB News audience is different, it's unique, because they see through the nonsense.
We want to debate with each other, we want to listen and maybe learn.
We have a chat. That's what we do. We try and have a chat.
They'll watch my programme while they're eating their tea, they'll watch breakfast while they're busy getting their kids ready for school.
We want to hear what matters to you, what is news for you.
And what's brought you out here today?
What are the biggest issues affecting this particular area? The audience are the best thing about GB News. They're friends, they're family. They're people who need to have their voices heard.
They're passionate about the channel, they're passionate about what they believe in.
The one thing about GB News is you get a chance to speak.
Talk to me about why so many people have gathered here today.
Do you want to say something back in return? The GB News audience is what makes GB News special.
It's incredible to see.
They shape our programmes, they shape our output, and they shape our channel.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good evening, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight,
the question now is not whether we do something, we are going to act. I'm absolutely clear.
Right, well, I think this might be one of the most important stories in the country right now. The government are trying to control what news you consume in a serious act of tyranny. I'm going to tell you all about it at 10 o'clock. Do not miss it. Trust me, you need to hear it. And
taking the decision that your political career is over, it is an intensely personal matter, or at least it was for me.
Keir Starmer actually thinks he's done a good job as Prime Minister in what may be his last dose of gaslighting. And a shocking story, this one here. A London council has organised a walking day out for black and brown families only. Is this just anti-white racism? And right, well, Egyptian thugs have attacked police in London and are screaming "Free Gaza" on our streets. Why weren't they banned? Is it because they aren't Jewish, perhaps? And yes, Islamic terrorist regime sympathisers mourn the death of their supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. And
had we not got out when we did,
our security was being pulled. Everyone in the world knew where we were.
I said, we need to get out of here.
That's right, the Duchess of Montecito has once again refused to come to the United Kingdom with Harry and her children, scuppering yet another chance at reconciliation with our king, who is still living with cancer, by the way. And joining me this lovely Saturday evening is Campaigns Director at the Taxpayers Alliance, William Yarwood, Director of Research on the IRGC and United Against Nuclear Iran, and a former Tory councillor candidate, Kasra Arabi, and author and academic and activist Lisa McKenzie. And while we're at it, should we just say happy 250th birthday to the United States, indeed, you treasonous gits. What's going on here?
3, 2, 1.
Yep, I'll tell you what that was. We've got a massive 2 hours coming up. Trust me, your Saturday evening is just about to get started. But first, your news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Alex, thank you. The top stories. Prince Harry won't be accompanied by the Duchess of Sussex and their children when he visits London next week. It's not known yet whether they'll join the Duke on any visits outside the capital. Prince Harry had intended to travel with Meghan and their children, Archie and Lilibet, to an event marking 1 year until the Invictus Games in Birmingham. He's also due to visit some charities he supports. It's reported the decision comes after his family were denied taxpayer-funded police protection. England captain Harry Kane says obviously it's good news that the pubs are staying open later for the fans. Pubs across the UK will be allowed to stay open until 5 a.m. on Monday. England's World Cup knockout match against Morocco kicks off at 1 a.m. despite proposals to bring the game forward. More than 100 riot police in bulletproof vests are currently guarding the hotel where England are staying after the team received a hostile reception as they arrived for their last 16 clash. US Vice President J.D. Vance says he spoke about Britain ahead of the US's 250th anniversary of independence today, saying Britain is such a beautiful country. It has the most amazing people in the world, but this amazing country has been failed by its leadership for a long time. Meanwhile, King Charles hailed the UK's relationship founded on friendship with the US on the 250th anniversary of independence. He called the occasion a truly historic milestone and a moment of great celebrations for Americans everywhere. President Trump earlier warned of what he described as a growing communist threat to the US, saying some progressive Democrats hold ideas that oppose the American way of life. J.D. Vance, meanwhile, hailed the United States ahead of the momentous occasion.
Our history is one of people carving a great civilization out of the wilderness. Reject the view of your nation that sees only its sins, but not its grace and its greatness. Everything that we have done as a country, we have done together. Not as citizens divided against each other, but as a common people working towards a common future.
In his first interview since resigning as Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer defended his legacy, saying he saved the Labour Party. After just 2 years in Number 10, Sir Keir Starmer said his likely successor, Andy Burnham, would have to spend just as much time on foreign diplomacy as he did. Speaking to the BBC, he also opened up about what he called the intensely personal decision to stand down. And Britain's Arthur Ferry has reached the 4th round of Wimbledon for the first time after beating Belgium's Zizou Bergs. Ferry, who's a wild-card entry, won their marathon round 3 clash 2-6, 7-5, 2-6, 7-6, 7-6 after more than 4.5 hours on court. The British number 3 defied persistent nosebleeds to triumph in the 5-set rollercoaster on court 18, which will take him into the top 100 of the world rankings for the first time. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Back to Alex.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
This Keir Starmer's legacy.
That is why this Labour government will block far-right agitators from travelling to Britain for that event.
Response both to the immediate challenge, which is clearly driven by far-right hatred.
Calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
The far right is showing who they are. As far as the far right is concerned, this is coordinated.
Dithering, disaster, economic stagnation, Orwellian nightmarish levels of control of your life, a diminished view of our country internationally, a weak, laughingstock of the military, a broken and even more divided country. I think a lot of that is due to some of Keir Starmer's behaviour, policies and rhetoric. No wonder why he's the most unpopular British Prime Minister in our history. But Starmer thinks he's done a good job.
Is the country in a better state now than it was when I inherited it 2 years ago?
And you think it is?
Oh, if you look across the big-ticket items that really matter, it was the aftermath of Liz Truss, and we have turned that around and stabilised the economy to a point now where we're the fastest-growing economy in the G7.
Is he having a laugh? We've been lingering around the bottom of the IMF's growth per capita league table for quite a while now. Unemployment's hit 4.9% and youth unemployment now outpaces the EU for the first time in decades. Hundreds of billions in new debt, record business liquidations, wealthy taxpayers fleeing the country en masse. Disaster.
And then if you look at our international reputation, which frankly was in tatters 2 years ago, we are in such a better position now as a trusted partner, not just across the EU, but much more widely.
He's totally delusional.
Come here. Is everything going good?
Very good.
It's very nice that you're here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with. I will say the UK has been very, very uncooperative.
Yeah, great international reputation, Keir. One word for you, Chagos. Right, I don't need to say any more than that. Let's not forget the fact he couldn't even get a battleship out to protect our troops in Cyprus, could he?
Protecting young people from social media.
Yeah, online safety. How about 12,000 people arrested every year for hurty word crimes on social media? Double the amount of arrests from 2017. That's even more social media arrests than Vladimir Putin. Crazy. Frankly, all I can say is goodbye and good riddance, Keir. No one will miss you. Should get the thoughts of my panel. Campaigns Director at the Taxpayers Alliance, William Yarwood's back. Director of Research on the IRGC, United Against Nuclear Iran, and former Tory councillor candidates Kazra Arabi, and author and academic, and of course activist, Lisa McKenzie. Will, I mean, I think he's going out trying to protect his legacy and do all these like backflips on how well his time in office has gone. But the British public are looking at this guy going, "Oh, you're having a laugh."
Yeah, it kind of makes you think like which country he's been running for the last 2 years, because it certainly isn't this one. I mean, let's just begin on taxpayers. Let's begin on the tax front. This guy, along with Rachel Reeves, has raised taxes by an extra £60 billion. £60 billion, including with that is the national insurance hike on employers, which means that it's now harder to employ people, and many businesses are now closing up their doors, which broke their manifesto promise, by the way, to not hike taxes on working people. They hiked taxes, well, more specifically, they removed inheritance tax relief from businesses and farmers, what we know as family farmers tax, destroying loads of farmers. They have refused to stop the spiralling welfare budget and have actually just kicked the can down the road now with this Timms review. And also, they've increased the national debt by a dramatic 200 billion quid, at the very, very least, with debt interest payments on that debt being over 110 billion pounds. And he mentions about how we're at the top of growth every single year. The IMF has consistently told us that Britain is beyond breaking point for tax, and actually in terms of what we need to do, they're saying, well, a bailout might be coming along sometime soon if we need it. So I don't know what planet Keir Starmer is living on, but it's certainly not this one. And yeah, goodbye and good riddance to this tax and spend Orwellian Prime Minister. But I have to say, Alex, I don't think it's going to get any better under Burnham.
I was about to say goodbye and good riddance to the next thing. Is where it's going. Councillor, welcome to the show. Good to have you back. I mean, you know, for me, the fact that Keir Starmer, I understand he wants to go off on a good note. I mean, he's of course going to defend his record, but I think it just all seems completely out of touch. One thing I credit Rishi Sunak with, when he resigned, he apologised to the country, and I have a great amount of respect for people who can acknowledge not everything was great, we could have done better. Keir Starmer seems to think everything's gone wonderful for him.
Completely delusional, and on really serious issues, by the way, when it comes to security and defence, Keir Starmer has emboldened our enemies at home and emboldened our enemies abroad. What do I mean by that? Look at who he picked for Attorney General. Someone who pursued a witch hunt against our armed forces, members of our armed forces, our heroes in uniform who are putting their lives on the line to protect us. That individual has gone after them. Look at the Troubles Bill. Completely and utterly shameful. These actions, by the way, affect how we operate abroad. Look at our defence spending. He's put welfare and benefits before defence. He has pandered to Islamist extremists for fear of losing votes to the Green Party. And abroad, the Iran war demonstrated that we are simply not equipped for this increasingly hostile world. This is no laughing matter, by the way. We had not one vessel in the Persian Gulf when the war began. By the way, the United States was building its military capabilities there for weeks on end, so it's obvious it was going to happen. And when our base came under attack in Cyprus, we didn't have the capabilities to defend ourselves. Who defended us? The French.
I know, that's so embarrassing.
And utterly ludicrous.
Yeah.
Appalling. And someone, by the way, look, Starmer's leaving, but sadly, this is only going to get worse under Burnham. And in many ways, at least with Starmer, we wouldn't see his face constantly online. Burnham, on the other hand, is the TikTok Prime Minister, or TikTok Prime Minister-to-be. So we're going to have to deal with that as well.
Lisa, have I been too harsh on Keir?
Do you know what I'm going to do here? Because obviously everybody's bashing him. I even felt a little bit sorry for him. And, you know, and I hated him from day one. I always hated him, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, before everyone else knew about him, I hated him from 2011 when he was locking up people in the riots, kids nicking water. So I've hated him for a long time. But I felt a bit sorry for him just because of his delusional nature of this. He actually doesn't know. But there is a wider point here. Keir Starmer comes from a stable of politicians that they rule from one street in Britain, and they see only one view. And I think the Tories are equal to that as well. I think we've got a real problem with our political calibre, with the calibre of our politics right now. And I can't see that getting any better.
OK. Well, let's see. We're just going to be joined now by Public Affairs and Communications consultant Stuart Thompson. Stuart, thanks so much for joining me this evening. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to talk to me. Have I been completely unfair? Go on, tell me how unfair have I been about Keir Starmer? I'm sure... Look, I'm not taking away the fact that it's a tough job. It's a tough job right now. I do appreciate the country is in deep, deep trouble. What do you think his biggest successes have been?
Well, I think there are a large number of successes. I mean, you've all poo-pooed the quickest growth in the G7. I don't think that's to be sniffed at. Which bits of the NHS waiting list cuts for biggest cuts in 17 years don't people approve of? Which bits of the 5 million extra appointments in the NHS do people not approve of? 4,500 more teachers. Which are we constantly disagreeing with literally everything he's done? Or can we all step back and say, look, it's 2 years in. Actually, it'd probably been better to have a complete term in office to make a sort of a full assessment of what he would have achieved. But given his level of popularity, the party has decided that it's taking that away from him, so he has stepped away from it for Burnham to take over. And again, to criticise Burnham before he's even been sworn in as Prime Minister, if that is the case, we don't even know what his programme is quite yet. So I think we're jumping the gun slightly on that as well.
Well, no, I on Burnham, totally agree. We do want to know what his programme is. I think that's what it is for me, Stuart. I'm being a little bit more reserved on Burnham because I do want to know exactly what he's going to do as Prime Minister. I think that's fair. One of the things that many people charge Keir Starmer with is that he pandered a lot to extremists on the Islamist bloc, for example, right? He said he pandered, attacked the far right quite a lot, which you may class as a good thing. But many people say he didn't go far enough by attacking extremism in Britain on the left and maybe the Islamist group as well.
Well, again, look, depending on one's view, he's either not been tough enough or too tough. Look, I mean, there will be for people to draw their own conclusions. But in effect, what he has tried to do is balance, which some people will approve of and others won't. I mean, that is the nature of being Prime Minister. And yourself, Alex said, it's a really difficult job to do, and you will end up alienating some people and approving others. But for where the party was when he took over and the reputation it had under Jeremy Corbyn, to take it from a party like that went down to historic defeat, to turn that around and then deliver a majority of the size that he did, for any leader of any political party, that is a massive achievement. And the reputation it had under Corbyn was put to one side quite dramatically by the actions that he took.
Yeah, listen, I totally agree with the Corbyn stuff. I think that was probably his biggest success inside the Labour Party, is ridding that part of the party with all those nasty anti-Semites. Unfortunately, I feel like they found a new political party now, Stuart, which I won't name just for balance reasons. Thank you very much for joining me. I just want to go back to the panel for just a moment, Stuart. Thank you. Just hang on there. Kazra, you listened to some of Stuart's stuff there. What did you make of that?
There's no balance when it comes to Islamist extremists. We should not tolerate Islamist extremism on our territory, on our soil. Yet Starmer has completely ignored the problem. Not only has he ignored it, he's actually played politics with our national security. What do I mean by that? For fear of losing segments of the Muslim vote, he has refrained, to the Green Party, he has refrained from clamping down on Islamist extremist networks here in the UK. He's refused to prescribe the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, called the IRGC, that's the Ayatollah's terror army, which has plotted more than 20 attacks on our soil, targeting our parliamentarians, targeting our critical infrastructure, nurturing anti-Semitism. They've built a whole web of charities, mosques. Starmer could have shut those down, could have intervened, refused to do so for fear of losing that segment of the Muslim vote to the Green Party. He's not prescribed the Muslim Brotherhood either. So Starmer, as I said, has played politics with our national security, and as a result, we have seen Islamist extremism on the rise. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. There's no balance when it comes to this. Zero tolerance should be our approach.
And the working classes, Lisa, do you think he's done a lot for them?
No, he's done nothing. He's done nothing for the British working class at all. I mean, what he also did is sort of stand on the sidelines and try and have balance over organised crime in our communities. Where I live in, some of the poorest communities, the Red Wall, we have seen over the last 5-6 years our high streets turn into sort of webs of organised crime through vape shops. I mean, the BBC...
Well, Shabana Mahmood and the government argued that they're clamping down on that. They spent a lot of money trying to do that. Do you not think it's making an impact?
Yeah, remember Stop the Boats?
Yeah.
Well, what's happened now is those smuggler lords are actually now... They have stopped doing that because they now own all the shops on our high street.
What about taxpayers? How have they fared under Keir Starmer?
Not well at all. I mean, earlier in the show, you mentioned how many taxpayers are leaving. Indeed, that's true, which means that the tax base shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, which means that taxes are put on more and more working class and middle class people. And also reject this idea that he's done anything for the education system at all. I mean, one thing we have a problem with is, yes, of course, teachers and retention and things like that, but the way you go about that is not by shutting down schools in the form of their VAT on private schools, because it's not just private schools they're hitting. They're hitting SEND and social care schools, they're hitting grammar schools, they're hitting technical schools, they're hitting any school that deigns to live outside of the state. And the idea that somehow shutting down these schools and then moving them all into the comprehensive system is going to do well for parents, teachers or the children themselves is completely for the birds.
Can I just say, all of you, and you also, I haven't got time to read out all of your comments, but really the consensus seems to be that you don't feel waiting lists have come down, you don't feel like teaching's improved in any vast number of ways. You basically don't agree with Keir Starmer's assessment on his own track record. The PM has previously said this about the economy, though. We now have the fastest growing economy in the G7. GDP has increased every quarter since 2024, and the IMF has upgraded the UK's growth outlook. All clear signs that economic stability is returning and resilience is being rebuilt. And on his record on the NHS, a press release, they detailed that it's hit its target for the number of patients waiting 18 weeks. In March of this year, 65.3% of patients were waiting 18 weeks, as the waiting list fell by over 312,000 last year, on the largest year-on-year reduction in 16 years, so they say. Time now for a Great British giveaway, though. We know you love this one. 60 grand in tax-free cash. Gold bar, which you can give to anyone. And I keep on encouraging you, send it to me. It's 5 grand. Right? Here's all the details.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like this year. What would you do with that? And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. It's pure gold to own, trade or gift to a loved one and secure their financial future. So make sure you don't miss your chance to bank over £65,000 worth of prizes in our Golden Summer celebration. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody. Arthur just said, Alex, you'd have to pay tax on it if it was sent to you. That's rude. That's really ruined my evening, Arthur. All right, coming up. The government are trying to control what news you consume in a serious act of tyranny. Please don't miss this one. It's really important. But before that, a shocking story. A London council's organised a walking day out for black and brown families only. Is this anti-white racism? I'm going head-to-head myself with our next guest.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things up the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's
News Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody. Linda says, I've told you before, Alex, I'll give you the gold bar if you'll arrange for me to win the money. That sounds like a good deal. I'll see what I can do, Linda. I definitely won't be able to do that, sorry. Look, welcome back, everybody. And this story is just absolutely insane. A London council is facing criticism after advertising free support events for black and brown families. Well, Haringey Council posted an advert on Facebook which read this: free walk and talk for black and brown families to get free infant feeding support. Right? The link to book events for the event also explains in the first line of its description that it is run for black and brown mums, mums-to-be and families. What about other ethnic groups? Right? I mean, shouldn't councils be providing for everybody, not discriminating based on race? So for tonight's head-to-head, I'm asking, are these types of events inclusive, providing a space for communities in the capital, or is it just discrimination? And I'm going head-to-head tonight with former Green candidate and political commentator and friend of the show, Fahima Mohammed. Fahima, thanks for coming on tonight. I really do appreciate it. Look, why do you think this, do you think that this is fair, first of all?
I think it's misinformation because white families are not banned from infant feeding support. It's not what the wider service says. The commissioned Haringey Breastfeeding Network service says support is for all families. And we have to understand here, let me finish my point. It's important that we understand that we don't fall into this psychological trap of overgeneralization, because people see one race-specific initiative and immediately conclude that there is widespread discrimination against white people. But one targeted outreach program does not by itself demonstrate systemic discrimination, okay? And at the same time, the council does have a responsibility to maybe word it better, but we do know from NHS and MBR Race UK data that black women are around 3 times more likely to die during or shortly after pregnancy than white women, and Asian women almost twice as likely. So those disparities are precisely why public bodies sometimes use targeted outreach. So let's judge this on evidence and nothing else. And you can challenge the council to justify the programme, yes, but don't confuse that one targeted intervention, is proof of any sort of racism. I think it's a false equivalence. And it's definitely, something that it doesn't fit their existing belief, rather, and looking for a wider evidence, of this, because we do have separate sort of like targeted support, whether it comes to services for veterans, young fathers, domestic abuse survivors, and there is a stigma across brown and black people when it comes to breastfeeding, for example. So I guess this is what I would say.
When it comes to veterans, veterans aren't discriminated against their skin colour, or positively discriminated against, indeed, based on their skin colour, their ethnicity, their race. And so my argument is simple. Why not just launch a breastfeeding support or a family support thing for everybody? I think this constant focus on race and DEI, if I was a white family looking at that, I immediately would not feel welcome. If I said to you, Fahima, and I put out a post, and you saw on Facebook a post that said, white people only, white people welcome to come to this walk-in clinic, I would have thought, would feel quite offended that it is specifically targeting people based on their race, their skin colour, rather than actually trying to solve the problem.
No, because I think that we need to understand.
I think we've just lost Fahima there. Look, I think, look, well, hopefully we get her back for in a second. I think the point is that I'm making, if you put anything out, and I hate all of this stuff, right? I come from a mixed family. I've got mixed race little brothers, right? I don't want them positively or negatively discriminated based on their skin colour. They don't want it either, by the way. They just want to be treated like everybody else. And as soon as this sort of stuff happens, it ends up causing division in society. Let's bring in the rest of my panel for the meantime. Hopefully we'll get back to Fahima in just a moment. Kazra, I'll come to you. Obviously not white, if you don't mind me saying. If this sort of stuff, it infuriates me, because people don't want to see positive discrimination. They don't want to see negative discrimination. They just want to live in a society where we can all just targeted support, sure, but not based on your skin colour.
It infuriates me. I want to live in a meritocracy where hard work is rewarded, where we are not defined by the colour of our skin. And unfortunately, the way this is moving towards, the way our country is moving towards, is on the other side. We're moving towards a country that is more sectarian, that is more divided, and these kinds of policies, I believe, if there's positive outreach, targeted outreach when it comes to medical care, and because of a community that is more vulnerable, then fair enough. But when this council is advertising the way in which they are communicating this, it is divisive. It is it could be interpreted as anti-white. As someone who is not white, it infuriates me when I see stuff like this. I want to live in a meritocracy where hard work is rewarded, and we're not determined, our success, the way we are treated is not determined by the colour of our skin or our
Just bear with me, because Fahima's back. Right. Sorry, thanks for coming back there, Fahima. We lost you on the signal. Let's pick up where we left off. I was just saying, would you be offended if you saw, and would you be okay with the council publishing anything that says white people only, or white people welcome to come to this specific tour? Would that not incite you in some way?
It wouldn't incite me, because I know that there are issues within certain groups. Like we have white young boys that are failing and performing in schools. And if they had a program for them specifically, that's why I say it's to do with context. We have outreach programs for different groups, and sometimes it does include black and brown females, because we are also in a group where we are stigmatized. We do not get the health. I just told you that NHS has just recently reported on the fact that there are more deaths for people of brown and black skin mothers. So if this is a target outreach for helping those families to that, whether there's stigmatism within culture, whether there's language barriers, it is not excluding other families. It is just targeting a particular group. Yeah. If it was completely banned for every white person, I can understand that. But this is, again, we have to look at it differently.
Look, I just want to say this, Fahima, if you don't mind interrupting. Haringey Council, the area that make up 32% white British, right? It's 17% Caribbean African, 8.7% Asian, it's 9% other ethnic groups, Arab, etc., otherwise 7% mixed other. It's actually, you know, quite a diverse area. It's not like it's got a small percentage of black and brown people. It's actually quite a high percentage as compared to the rest of the country. The point that I'm making is not that you shouldn't help these people, but help everyone that's suffering. There'll be white people who are suffering that will feel excluded from these programs. And so of course there's going to be a higher percentage in certain cases, and we want targeted support. But why make it about the race? Why not make it about everybody that's suffering? Why do we need to bring race into it whatsoever?
Because not everyone needs that support. Like I just mentioned, if there are...
Well, how do you know that?
...white boys, there's obviously evidence for it, which I just pointed out. If there are underperforming by percentage white boys that need extra tuition, extra care, extra funding in schools for them, then that should be specifically for them.
But just help all the kids that are struggling, Fahima. But this is the point. This is the point you're missing. You're missing my point, Fahima. No, you are. You're totally missing my point. You're missing my point because this is saying, you're saying, right, we have every single person that's failing or struggling in society based on their skin colour alone. We must target them and exclude other people when we do these outreaches. I'm saying help everybody that needs it. Any child that's struggling, I don't care about their skin colour. I'm saying give them support if they're struggling. Not that we need to have different things for white people, different things for black people. That is exactly the kind of division and cultural barriers that we're pulling up around our society that are driving us into the ground.
No, because these statistics come up so that we can actually help groups and communities. We can't help everybody. There are, unfortunately, cohorts. And some of those cohorts do belong to certain minority groups, whether it's white, whether it's black, whether it's Asian. So again, when you have statistics to actually pull out those particular cohorts and groups that require specific, you know, programs and funding for it, then yes, it should be specific for that.
Okay.
Everyone deserves help. No one's denying that. But you need to understand outreach. Outreach is a difference.
Yeah, that's fair enough, Fahima. I mean, I just think when it comes to things like the prostate cancer thing recently, where the government announced that it was going to be, you know, targeting black people, I thought, well, what if white people are dying and Asian people are dying of prostate cancer? Why don't they deserve it? Whether white kids don't have a DEI program, but do we need to have a DEI program for everyone of different, you know? Well, it is DEI if you want to target a specific group of people based on their race, Fahima. Yeah, but Fahima, you're advocating for white, underperforming, working class kids to get a program to specifically help them. That is DEI, right?
Well, regardless, I don't care what you call it.
Well, that was just what you just said. You just said it's not DEI. I said it is DEI.
You want to label things because you don't like it. I'm saying if
no, I'm not. I don't like racism. I don't like racism, Fahima. That's all. Anyway, look, we're going to have to agree to disagree, Fahima, because I've run.
This is you targeting specific groups. All right. Understand that. Very simple.
All right, thanks, Fahima. Really appreciate you coming on the show, as always. Thank you for a hearty debate. GB News contacted Haringey Council for a comment on this, but of course we're yet to receive a response. Their website says, our inclusive, accessible approach to programming is designed to eliminate barriers to participation for our residents, protected groups and hard-to-reach audiences. The development of our culture strategy has allowed us to further identify the people and communities whose stories, voices and engagement are currently underrepresented in our borough's cultural life. It also adds, we're committed to inclusion, equity and the promotion of social justice for everyone in our diverse community. We recognise the impact of systemic inequalities on access to services, health outcomes and well-being. We've got to go to a break because I'm going to get told off in a second for not reading these things with a straight face. Coming up, the government are trying to control what news you consume. It is a massive act of tyranny. Please don't miss it. Before that, though, Islamic terrorist regime sympathisers, they're mourning the death of their supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini. We'll talk about that next.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A lot of fine weather at the moment throughout Europe, especially through the Mediterranean, where it's going to be hot in Portugal during the next few days, and less wet for Greece compared with the last few days. Showers on Sunday tending to ease, but there will still be the odd shower or thunderstorm. Italy, widespread sunny skies, the breeze here easing after a blustery few days. But look at Lisbon, 39 Celsius. That's unusually hot for the time of year, and it continues into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's still going to be a bit of a northwest split over the UK for the next couple of days, but as we go in towards Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, temperatures are going to turn a bit hotter in a few places. Now it's all down to this high pressure system we've got out towards the southwest, and we still have these wavy frontal systems across the north as well, but we do have a little bit of a ridge of high pressure building here. So although it was wet through the afternoon across western Scotland, it is turning a lot more patchier, especially across northern England as we go through the overnight period. Across the south, we do have some clearer skies, but another mild night to come. Temperatures around those mid-teens, so it will be a pretty mild start to a Sunday morning. And as we head through the second half of the weekend, it is going to be very similar to Saturday. We've still got some rain out towards the west, a little bit drier over towards the east. Orkney and Shetland seeing the best of the brightness first thing. Northern Ireland does see some showery rain across the north, and northern England may just be a little bit wetter than what they saw over the last couple of days. Some patchy cloud across the Midlands, but again, South Wales, southern England getting the best of the brightness for the start of Sunday. As we go through the day, this rain will slowly start to drift its way eastwards by the late morning and into the early afternoon. So it is turning increasingly wet once again across western Scotland. But this cloud across the Midlands and Wales, it will lift, it will start to break, and we will start to see some sunnier skies. So in that sunshine, it is going to feel like a pretty warm to even hot day. Highs of around 29 degrees in the far southeast. Now to start the new week, again, it is a very similar day to come. Brightness across the south. It may turn a little bit brighter across northern England by the afternoon. A lot of rain across the north as well. But over the next couple of days, still got that cloud in the north and sunshine in the south. But as we go through Monday, Tuesday, those temperatures into the 30s.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back. Iranian mourners called for revenge as crowds packed Tehran's centre yesterday for the funeral of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Right, well, there you go. So what's next for the Iranian regime? And who's filling the vacuum of power left behind by the former Ayatollah? Well, I've got with me, of course, Kazra here tonight, who is the Director of Research on the IRGC, United Against a Nuclear Iran, and he's a former Tory councillor as well. But Kazra, you're an expert on this field. Many people haven't seen the new Ayatollah Moshtaba. He's not made an appearance. There's many rumours that he's mostly disfigured and somewhat from the bombing of that killed his father and his brothers. What is going on in Iran right now?
Well, you have a situation where the regime, this is an Islamist extremist regime, that it operates like a mafia state. So you had the godfather, Ali Khamenei, whose funeral it was today, and you had various oligarchic clans, Islamist oligarchic clans that Khamenei was balancing. Now, the godfather was eliminated, so now there's a vacuum, there's a power vacuum that has emerged, and these oligarchic clans are competing with each other, not for ideology. They're all Islamist extremists. Some of them wear turbans, some of them wear military uniforms, others wear suits. All Islamist extremists, however, they're competing for power and money.
Right.
But Mujtaba, the son, he's nowhere to be seen. The very fact that he wasn't at his father's funeral, we can say now with a strong degree of certainty that he doesn't exist. He's been killed. And that the power, the individuals now holding power, it's the commander-in-chief of the IRGC, Ahmad Vahidi, deeply anti-Semitic figure, by the way, that's on the Interpol wanted list for his role in the bombing of a Jewish cultural centre in '94. You've got Muhammad Ali Jafari, another IRGC commander who devised the very strategy, the wartime strategy the regime used against the United States and Israel. And another clan, Muhammad Bagher Ghalibaf, the Speaker of the regime's parliament. But they're all competing, they're all jostling, and this will only deepen, by the way, because now Mujtaba's nowhere to be seen. Before, they could use Mujtaba's name, evoke his name, to justify their positions. But it's a bit of a mess now.
Yeah, so this power vacuum, how does that play out, right? Because, of course, we know from the war that Israel and Iran eliminated multiple layers of the top of the hierarchy of the IRGC, right? Of course, including Ayatollah Khomeini. And if your assumption is correct, Mujtaba, at least if he's dead, he is not anywhere to be seen, or probably not in a position of strength or power. That means you could be looking at multiple factions fighting it out on the streets, perhaps.
There'll be elite infighting, which will weaken the regime. And the regime has been weakened. Let's not listen to the mainstream media. If you listen to the mainstream media, you believe that the regime won the war. I mean, a regime that loses its supreme leader on the first day of the conflict certainly is not winning a war. But that anti-Trump bias drove the mainstream media narrative. So they prioritised that over objective reporting. By the way, it's a really important point I want to make for your viewers. Those scenes that you saw, those Islamist extremists, because that's what they are, mourning the death of a totalitarian dictator, that is not representative of the Iranian population.
Yeah, that's true.
They represent about 10% of the Iranian population at best. And a leaked IRGC recording revealed that. We acquired that. In addition to that, you can corroborate that figure with a number of Iranians who voluntarily opted for the regime's homebrew COVID vaccine over Western medicine. Roughly 10% of the population. You've got to be pretty radical to opt for that. So this is 10% of the population. Let's not forget, weeks before this conflict, millions of Iranians, young men and women, took to the streets to overthrow this regime, and this regime responded by massacring them on the streets. 40,000 unarmed civilians killed on the streets. The people of Iran want regime change, and actually, if you speak with them, they are supportive of President Trump because he eliminated the tyrant, the dictator, the very individuals who was murdering them on the streets.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I speak to so many Iranians about this, here in Britain particularly, very animated that whole regime's got to go. I hope one day that the IRGC will be destroyed and overthrown and something better will replace it. Kazra, thanks for bringing us up to speed on that one, because it's a really fascinating situation. Now, we're not talking about Iran very much anymore, but I suspect we might be when these groups either get themselves together or a new leader emerges. All right, look, next, the Duchess of Montecito. Haven't heard about her for a while, have you? Well, she's once again refused to come to the UK with Harry and the children.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The final preparations before a world first. At RAF Wittering in Cambridgeshire, these JCB mechanics and engineers are attempting to rewrite history, chasing a world land speed record with a hydrogen car. The JCB Hydromax puts out 1,600 horsepower, powered entirely by two hydrogen-fuelled internal combustion engines. The 32-foot-long vehicle is trying to beat JCB's existing record, which was achieved with a diesel engine back in 2006. It reached a speed of over 350 miles an hour. For chairman of JCB Lord Bamford, the new car is about pushing the boundaries of new technology.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Father's Day has long been a fixture in the family calendar. But as household budgets remain under pressure, some are questioning whether the tradition of buying gifts is beginning to fade. Jim Cox has worked in the gift-giving industry for more than 30 years and says Father's Day simply isn't the draw it once was.
We're kind of reliant on the big gifting period. Father's Day is probably the weakest of like the bigger gifting events. It's picked up a bit this week, but probably not as much as I would expect. And I think generally people, like average basket size isn't really where I'd want it either. So I think people are spending a bit less, being a bit careful, and also thinking general trend in gifting is thinking maybe about experiences and spending time with people.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
What does it do for people who are wounded, injured or sick veterans? What does it do for them to do this sort of voyage on this wonderful sailing ship?
Good morning. It is that human impact, and that's why Turn to Starboard exists, and even at the Invictus Games Birmingham 2027. It's about giving people maybe a reset, maybe seeing, taking that breath, but also a bit of camaraderie as well. Literally everybody's in the same boat. The blue environment is completely different. Everything is different on a boat. Walking, sitting down, making a cup of tea, even going to the loo is slightly different. So we can give people a break from sort of the pressures of life.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back, everybody. Meghan Markle, Princess Archie and Princess Lilibet will not accompany Prince Harry to London next week after his request for police protection was yet again denied. Let's get up to date on this story with Editor-at-Large for the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Charlotte, lovely to see you again. I feel like it's been forever since I've seen you. Charlotte, what has driven this decision? Because we were quite hopeful for a while there might be some sort of reconciliation or a moment that Meghan was going to come over. Did hear rumour that King Charles was offering something to them. What's gone on?
Gosh, well, it's been so confusing. It really has. It's been a will they, won't they. It's been a whole drama. I think part of the drama has been to whip up attention because everybody's, excited to see Harry next week. What's happened is that Harry is going to come to the UK, and they originally were planning to both come for 2 weeks. What's actually going to happen is Harry's going to come to the UK and Meghan might come, but not to London. So she might come, for example, for the Invictus Games event, which is happening at the Birmingham NEC. And it's quite likely that she'll go to Althorp, which is Earl Spencer's house, where Diana was brought up and where she's been buried. But what she doesn't want to do, mysteriously, is come to London. And she had been offered, and Harry had been offered, Buckingham Palace, I'd heard, because they've been offered a royal accommodation which would keep them, in theory, safe, because they didn't have police protection. But they did think that they were going to get police protection going in and out of Buckingham Palace, and it turns out that's not true. And Harry had been disabused of this last Friday, and then threw his toys out of the pram. Apparently he cried on the phone to his PR man, and the whole thing became a kind of psychodrama, as we've come to expect from the Sussexes. But the latest is Meghan might come, but not to London.
Obviously, the King is still living with cancer at this point in time as well. So, he's not getting significantly better. Of course, he's back on royal duties, and we're all pleased to see the King back on form. But seeing his grandchildren, that must be quite important to him. He's not seen very much of them, has he?
No, he's hardly seen them at all, certainly not since they were very little. And that's why this reunion was so important. And it is actually really important to Harry, who has been in tears over the whole thing. But what's interesting is that the King has to be in London for the next few days because of work, other commitments. And Meghan is now saying she won't come to London. So she's making it really difficult for Charles to see the kids. And obviously Harry's coming without them. They're over in Portugal, so they can come over at a moment's notice. I think they are honestly taking it hour by hour, and certainly in the press, in the media, in the newspapers, we've been taking it hour by hour. The briefings change feels like every 5 minutes. So the thing is, we won't really know until we know, whether she comes or not. But Harry is coming, and we'll see him quite a lot on Tuesday when he's giving a speech at 2 p.m. at Chatham House.
And just very, very briefly, if you don't mind, Charlotte, isn't there some sort of court case overriding a lot of this as well?
Well, there is the Daily Mail trial, and that will be decided on at about the same time as his Chatham House speech, actually. So there's also all that. You would have thought Meghan would be here by his side for that, but she decided to leave him to it.
Absolutely bonkers stuff, Charlotte. Well, look, please stay in touch and let us know what happens next, because I'm sure we all want to know whether there's going to be a reconciliation or not. It would be quite a big moment for the country if they did, perhaps. Charlotte Griffiths, thank you so much as ever for coming on the show. Good to see you again. Yeah, loads more coming up here tonight, by the way. This is the most important story I'm probably going to tell you this week, because the government is trying to control what news you consume. It's a serious, serious act of tyranny. They want you to be their sheep, basically. And I think it's very worrying for a democracy to have the government basically tell you, prescribe you their view of the world. That'll be coming up in just a moment's time, but before that, we're going to get to your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's still going to be a bit of a northwest split over the UK for the next couple of days, but as we go in towards Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, temperatures are going to turn a bit hotter in a few places. Now, it's all down to this high pressure system we've got out towards the southwest, and we still have these wavy frontal systems across the north as well, but we do have a little bit of a ridge of high pressure building here. So although it was wet through the afternoon across western Scotland, it is turning a lot more patchier, especially across northern England as we go through the overnight period. Across the south, we do have some clearer skies, but another mild night to come. Temperatures around those mid-teens, so it will be a pretty mild start to a Sunday morning. And as we head through the second half of the weekend, it is going to be very similar to Saturday. We've still got some rain out towards the west, a little bit drier over towards the east. Orkney and Shetland seeing the best of the brightness first thing. Northern Ireland does see some showery rain across the north, and northern England may just be a little bit wetter than what they saw over the last couple of days. Some patchy cloud across the Midlands, but again, South Wales, southern England getting the best of the brightness for the start of Sunday. As we go through the day, this rain will slowly start to drift its way eastwards by the late morning and into the early afternoon. So it is turning increasingly wet once again across western Scotland. But this cloud across the Midlands and Wales, it will lift, it will start to break, and we will start to see some sunnier skies. So in that sunshine, it is going to feel like a pretty warm to even hot day. Highs of around 29 degrees in the far southeast. Now, to start the new week, again, it is a very similar day to come. Brightness across the south. It may turn a little bit brighter across northern England by the afternoon. A lot of rain across the north as well. But over the next couple of days, still got that cloud in the north and sunshine in the south. But as we go through Monday, Tuesday, those temperatures into the 30s.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel. 5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good evening, it's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight.
The question now is not whether we do something, we are going to act. I'm absolutely clear.
Right, well, this might be one of the most important stories in the country that nobody else seems to be talking about in the media. The government are trying to control what news you consume in what I think is a serious, serious act of tyranny. That's coming up very shortly. Also,
taking the decision that your political career is over, it is an intensely personal matter, or at least it was for me.
Yeah, good riddance. Keir Starmer, though, thinks he's done a good job as Prime Minister in what may be his last dose of gaslighting and... Yeah, scenes you might expect to see in Paris, but that was London. Egyptian football thugs have attacked police in London while they're screaming, "Free Gaza." Why weren't they just banned? Perhaps they weren't Maccabi Jewish fans. Is that what it was? And, of course, it is the United States' 250th birthday today. Breaking in the Times this evening, Vice President J.D. Vance has given an interview admitting that Britain is still amazing, but it's been failed by its leadership. Tell us something we don't know, J.D. And joining me to talk about all these stories is Campaigns Director at the Taxpayers Alliance, William Yarwood, Director of Research on the IRGC, United Against Nuclear Iran, and a former Tory councillor candidate, Kasra Arabi, author, academic and activist, Lisa McKenzie. Of course, what would we be without celebrating the 250th birthday to the United States, you treasonous gits?
3, 2, 1, put down your hot dog.
I'm going to show you what that was in a bit. Trust me, there's nothing more American than that. A massive hour still coming up. Your Saturday evening is still getting started. But first, your news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Alex, thank you very much. The top stories. US Vice President J.D. Vance says Britain is amazing but has been failed by its leadership for a long time. He says the churn of prime ministers in recent years indicated something is very broken about British politics and that people are crying out for significant structural change. Speaking to the Sunday Times, he acknowledged he could be provocative in his comments, but that they were made from a perspective of love and admiration. Meanwhile, King Charles hailed the UK's relationship and founded on friendship with the US on the 250th anniversary of independence. He called the occasion a truly historic milestone. President Trump earlier warned of what he described as a growing communist threat to the US, saying some progressive Democrats hold ideas that oppose the American way of life. J.D. Vance, meanwhile, hailed the United States.
Our history is one of people carving a great civilization out of the wilderness. Reject the view of your nation that sees only its sins, but not its grace and its greatness. Everything that we have done as a country, we have done together. Not as citizens divided against each other, but as a common people working towards a common future.
In his first interview since resigning as Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer defended his legacy, saying he saved the Labour Party. After just 2 years in Number 10, Starmer said his likely successor, Andy Burnham, would have to spend just as much time on foreign diplomacy as he did. Speaking to the BBC, he also opened up about what he called the intensely personal decision to stand down. Prince Harry won't be accompanied by the Duchess of Sussex and their children when he visits London next week. It's not yet known whether they will join the Duke on any visits outside the capital. Prince Harry had intended to travel with Meghan and their children Archie and Lilibet to an event marking 1 year until the Invictus Games in Birmingham. He is also due to visit some charities he supports. It's reported the decision comes after his family were denied taxpayer-funded police protection.
What they need.
England captain Harry Kane says obviously it's good news that the pubs are staying open longer for the fans. Pubs across the UK will be allowed to stay open until 5 a.m. on Monday. England's World Cup knockout match against Mexico will kick off at 1 a.m. despite proposals to bring the game forward. More than 100 riot police and bulletproof vests have been guarding the hotel where England is staying after the team received a hostile reception as they arrived for their last 16 clash. And one of the estimated 1,000 guests at Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding has called their secretive ceremony moving. On Friday night, the pop star and the NFL player tied the knot at Madison Square Garden in a ceremony that was officiated over by Adam Sandler. The celebrities invited included Gigi Hadid and Bradley Cooper, Graham Norton, Ed Sheeran, Hugh Grant, as well as NFL personnel, of course, and industry executives. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Back to Alex.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Do not skip this. The government is preparing to force you to consume BBC and establishment media content to the top of your social media feeds by law. Yes, you could be force-fed what I would call government propaganda and state-controlled media by default, and they're trying to do it by controlling and forcing social media companies to manipulate their algorithms. This is Orwellian nightmare fuel in real-life Britain.
Secure from the pests, obeying contradictory thoughts. Unification of thoughts is more powerful a weapon than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people, with one will, one resolve, one cause.
Well, that's Apple's 1984-themed Macintosh commercial there, giving us what I think is an insight into what life in Britain will or can be like. The government want to counter so-called misinformation by trusted news from the BBC and perhaps other state-owned media like Channel 4. They want to give them undue prominence on social media or those that peddle their narrative. Just a reminder that the BBC itself has spread fake news and misinformation on countless occasions. It has a track record, even tracing back to 1984, when the BBC edited miners' strike footage out of sequence to falsely show protesters attacking police first. It acknowledged 7 years later that its mistake was made, and they said was made in the haste of putting the news together. That was their excuse, rather than a deliberate attempt to mislead. Well, in 2023, the BBC incorrectly reported the reason for Nigel Farage's bank account closure. They later amended and apologised, of course. Then there's the famous Trump panorama edit. The Beeb spliced clips from his January the 6th speech to falsely imply he directly called for violence in the Capitol. BBC apologised, they pulled the programme, then their Director General had to resign, and Trump is now suing them for billions. And what about the 2025 Gaza documentary? It was called Gaza, How to Survive a War Zone. That was narrated by the son of a Hamas official without any disclosure. It was, of course, ruled materially misleading. The BBC pulled it and ordered an on-air statement. There are hundreds of examples of this. I can't list them all here tonight. In fact, the BBC's own BBC Verify, its unit designed to combat misinformation, has been caught peddling misinformation itself. It's mental. This new government's proposal is a pure act of tyranny. It is designed to control you, your family, your friends on an industrial scale. Basically, what they want is for you to be sheep. This is not the act of a confident democracy. It is the action of the political liberal elite class that is losing control of their biased narratives. And one word, if you're a lefty watching this, be warned. One day, there will be a right-wing government, and they too will be able to manipulate this law. Joining me now is technology and free speech lawyer Preston Byron. Preston, thank you so much for joining me this evening. This law, that if it passes, which I think it probably will, is terrifying. It will tell people or force the news, no matter whether they like it or not, from the BBC, perhaps Channel 4 or other broadcasters, to the top of their feeds, based on what the government likes. What do we make of that?
Well, it's not a law yet. It's a proposal for a consultation in very, typical British fashion, where they talk about something for 2 years before they actually do anything concrete. But I think what it is exactly that. There's limited eyeball space on mainstream social media. There's a problem in that the British traditional broadcasters offer lots of content online for free, including the BBC. But the problem is it's as boring as watching paint dry. I was looking at the BBC One schedule this morning, and part of their prime morning coverage was the Irish food tour, talking about Northern Irish digestive biscuits, which is fascinating stuff. And I think I'd rather go have teeth pulled than watch it. So basically, it's a competitive issue. And so what the British government's going to try to do, it seems, is rent space for free on channels like YouTube or Meta or X or other things, and force those platforms, which are based in the United States, to give prominence to state-funded or state-regulated broadcasters like Channel 4, Channel 5, ITV, BBC, all that jazz, because they're losing in the marketplace of ideas, because they're not producing compelling long-form content. And even if you look at BBC One's content from today, if you tally up how much original news content they're doing, and I have the schedule right in front of me for your viewers, it's 20 minutes of original news content. And your program alone, for example, will cover this very important topic much more comprehensively than that will. And there are loads of independent creators on YouTube who are going to cover this topic much more comprehensively than the Beeb will. But if, for example, this proposal became law, basically it would say that you have to give priority to the short-form news content sponsored by the state rather than the in-depth content which is being produced by individuals.
Preston, what does that do to Britain if the government have their way? Why should people be worried about this?
Well, they should be worried about it because it's the British government seeking to influence and control the marketplace of ideas. In the United States, we guard freedom of speech very jealously. And what that really means, there are a lot of people, Brits have sometimes a difficult time understanding what it means because the concepts that we have don't exist in the UK. But what it essentially means is that the government doesn't get to make decisions about what people talk about in either direction, right? We trust the people of the United States and our fellow citizens to arrive at the truth through a process of discourse and rational inquiry, and we don't punish people or prioritize content that the state approves of on pain of fines and penalties in prison. So that's essentially what it means. The Brits haven't had that for a long time. They've been moving in a very censorial direction for a long time, and this is just the kind of latest instance of a 30-year process that really started under the Blair government, where the British government has asserted more and more control over the marketplace of ideas in an incremental fashion. And so, you say it's very Orwellian. I think the current state of the UK is actually fairly Orwellian, and this is just a logical extension of that.
Preston, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Really, really important stuff we're talking about here tonight. Thank you. Please come back again and join us soon. Let's go back to my panel on this one as well. Kazra, I think Preston hit on a good point there. This seems like it's been going on for a very long time. Back to Blair, when he was enforcing some of these laws, like public communications laws that we've doubled down on and mixed into other parts of legislation across the board, which have been now weaponised. We arrest more people for social media crimes than anywhere else in the world, according to records. There's lots of things people should be worried about now. The government, basically, I don't care whether it was a right-wing government or a left-wing government, I'd be outraged by this, deciding...
Rightly so, by the way.
Yes. Is it right that any government has this kind of overreach?
Absolutely not. And the thing that worries me the most, this is, in many ways, even beyond state-run propaganda or state-run misinformation. It's left-wing misinformation, because actually if you objectively analyse the BBC and Channel 4, their coverage is far more left-wing than the government itself. They actually disagree with some of the government's positions. They disagree with UK law. For example, they refuse to call Hamas and Hezbollah terrorist organisations. They refuse to call the October 7th terrorist attacks. So they present this veneer of objectivity, but actually if you look at the staff, if you look at the editorial, it is extremely left-wing. I've personally had investigations that if they were going to be aired on the BBC, say on Islamist extremism, there would be pushback. Whereas I was told if this was on about the far right, this would be straight out the door. So these institutions, in and of themselves, are not objective. They are left wing, pretty far left wing, and that's what concerns me the most. If the government is controlling the algorithm to ensure that these left wing outlets come out on top, then that's going to affect the views of the population. It's effectively a soft form of indoctrination.
Yeah, Lisa, the working class across the country as well, this is where I feel they target people. I feel they target the working class, people who are less likely to really want to get stuck into the news, perhaps, actually, by records. I'm not saying most working class people don't. I'm just saying there is a higher percentage of people in the educated sphere that like to get involved in the news. Is this a target on the working class?
That's the problem. We've been talking... We always talk about DEI, don't we? And diversity. The problem is in all elite circles, cultural elites, in the news, in politics, in the media, there are a very slim group of people, and they occupy all of that space, and they have a very slim view of the world. And we've seen that actually with the pro-Palestine, because they've had a very slim view of the world. We've seen it with the trans activism as well. So what we've got, I'm not sure it's the vehicles of the BBC or Channel 4 that's a problem. What I am saying is that we've got this elite, they are cultural elites, and they are squatting in all these different institutions, whether they're the police, the BBC, the NHS.
And they disagree with the UK law. You had one of the BBC's editors actually saying there was a recording. She was saying, oh, actually, there's a political arm of Hamas and there's a military arm, and that's against UK law. Hamas is a terrorist organisation.
But this is about this group of people with these ideas. Universities are exactly the same as well. I work in universities. You know, I push this idea that we have critical thinking.
Doesn't exist anymore.
This elite group don't want critical thinking. No, they want an idea that things are wrong.
Yes, well, if you don't teach critical thinking, people can't actually look at and say, actually, is this true or not? Is this true or not? That's why we encourage on this channel free speech, so you can hear both sides of the argument.
And so that's why I would argue that it's not the vehicle. It's actually the ideology of this elite. I agree with that.
Well, look, these are currently proposals, Will. They're going through a consultation at the moment. YouTube put out the message. I showed that up at the top here, just so people can see even these big tech companies are worried about it because they don't want government interference. And, of course, if the government had their way with it, the fact that they're asking for this, in my opinion, the fact they're even putting a proposal out shows that they are willing to do it. And that's what worries me the most. BBC is a massive cost to the licence fee holder. Basically, if you own a laptop, or the licence fee pretty much covers everything, provided you can watch live TV on it. It's basically mandatory. What does this mean for people?
Well, also with the licence fee point, they've obviously been extending it. So if you watch Netflix, you watch Amazon Prime, you watch Disney Plus. Well, the BBC wants a bit of money from you, and I'm not surprised in many ways because, as we were saying earlier, this has been going on for a very, very long time. The Communications Act under Blair, the Online Safety Act under the Tories carried over by the Labour Party, the growth of regulatory quangos around media and the like. And I think that anybody who is seriously thinking that these proposals are well-intentioned, or they're about protecting kids, like with the social media ban as well, for example, that's just another way of censorship and digital ID through the back door, in my view. I think this, involving themselves in big tech companies and involving themselves in what people can see, is actually not just Orwellian and authoritarian, it's exactly what totalitarian states do.
Yeah, and just a reminder for people, China does this sort of stuff,
yeah,
by the way. China does this sort of stuff with their social media companies. They control the algorithms, so they are fed a certain type of narrative, which I believe is indoctrination. I believe it is what Apple showed in that video. It is there to make you into sheep. Eventually, whether it happens in your generation or the next one, it's so they win in the long run. That is my concern. That should never be allowed in a Western democracy. Kazra, we see this across extremist countries all around the world, and it feels to me that rather than us embracing our natural, when I say liberal values, I mean liberty, the liberties of it, the classic liberalism, where we want people to be free-thinking, want people to question what the government does and hold them accountable, that we're slowly moving away from that.
Absolutely, and that's when our society thrives, by the way, when we're championing those classic liberalism, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, to be able to criticise, analyse.
And disagreement.
Absolutely.
This worries me a lot about disagreement. I mean, Lisa Nandy this week, our Culture Secretary, has just announced that she's coming off Twitter.
She has, yeah.
Now, that means that, you know, I worry about government ministers who seem to be so distant and disconnected from the rest of us that even if they now remove themselves from social media platforms, what is it that they will actually know?
Well, I'll put this back to you, Kazra, as well, because one of the things that people might say to me is that, Alex, actually, in times of crisis, we do need people like the BBC to be up front and centre. When if there's an attack on Britain, the government needs to be directly communicating. Is there an argument to be made for what the government might be proposing?
If there's a time of crisis, first and foremost, the government needs to prioritise our defence, our national security. It should be intervening in those issues, those matters, prioritising those issues. And you look at the reality, and the government has been turning its back on defence, turning its back on our national security. These forms of intervention only go down one path, and that's a dangerous path, an authoritarian path. I'm not suggesting that we're going to become communist China or the Islamist regime in Iran, but the very preventing...
It's a slow creep, isn't it, though?
Absolutely, and it can creep through.
And the problem is, sorry to interrupt, and the problem is that also when these laws are implemented, they're very rarely removed.
Yes,
they're very rarely removed.
And they'll only get worse.
Exactly.
Right. Look, a Department for Culture, Media and Sport spokesperson told GB News this: it's right that we look at ways to make it easier for people to discover trusted news sources on social media due to the threats posed by disinformation. We want to ensure any social media prominence system will be proportionate and maintains a diverse news landscape that features a wide range of voices. That's why, in the coming months, we'll be working alongside the industry to explore how a prominence regime for news content could operate, and we invite all interested parties to feed in their views through our consultation. What do you make of that? On the issue of the BBC splicing a clip of President Trump, the broadcaster said it sincerely regrets the manner in which the video clip was edited, but it added they strongly disagree there is a basis for a defamation claim. Following the BBC's Gaza documentary, BBC CEO Deborah Turner said our audiences deserve the highest possible standards of accuracy, and we're strengthening our editorial oversight to ensure that we deliver this. We remain committed to reporting from Gaza, despite the fact that international journalists are not allowed in. Let's get a great British giveaway to give you a little bit of a break after that one. 60 grand tax-free cash, a gold bar worth 5 grand, which apparently I can't get because I'll get taxed for it. Here's all the details.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like this year. What would you do with that? And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. It's pure gold to own, trade or gift to a loved one and secure their financial future. So make sure you don't miss your chance to bank over £65,000 worth of prizes in our golden summer celebration. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, next, Egyptian thugs have attacked police in London while they were screaming, "Free Gaza." Is this really Britain? I can't believe it. I'm going to show you the shocking footage next.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things up the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Well, after Egypt's World Cup victory over Australia last night, you'd expect some celebration and perhaps even some disorder. Well, I don't think would you even expect disorder? We should just celebrate. But that follows, of course, very similar scenes on the streets of Cairo. Is this Cairo or London, though? Well, you'd be forgiven if you thought it was Paris as well. But that indeed is London. That was London last night. Hundreds of Egyptian supporters filled the streets of the capital, chanting "Free Palestine." And they clashed, of course, with police. The crowds brought Friday evening traffic to a standstill too. So how have we been forced to get used to this kind of behaviour on London streets? I've got my panel back in the room with me. Will, I'll tell you what. I'm so sick of it. Yeah. I am all for the right to protest. I'm all for freedom of speech. But everything is Gaza now. Everything is... I'm so sick of hearing about it. Palestine, Gaza, nonsense. It's got nothing to do with our country. Yeah. We haven't got involved in any way whatsoever with what's going on over there. And these people always... I've been to these protests before. They always end up in some form of violence. You know, some form of... You don't see the Mayor of London coming out going, far-left agitators causing division on our streets, do you?
Yeah, all calling out sectarianism for that matter.
Yeah.
No. And also, what's this got to do with football? What on earth has this got to do with football? Why on earth are these people jumping out on the streets, screaming about Palestine at whatever time it was in the evening, after a football game where they beat Australia, also another country that has nothing to do with Israel-Gaza? I think this issue has become first of all, a key sectarian issue, but also an issue to show some type of tribal loyalty to outside of the nation, whereby these people are siding with this dispossessed or oppressed nation against evil Western imperialism, or indeed evil Israeli imperialism, which, of course, 9 times out of 10, if you just peel it away, it's just anti-Semitism at the end of the day. So, yeah, I think that this disorder was obviously disgraceful, and I'm sick of seeing it not just on the streets of London, Alex, but on the streets of Britain just more broadly.
Lisa?
I think what we've done over the last 3 years, but in particular, we've made space for this. And we've made too much space for it, actually. Outside of London, or great swathes of the UK, this doesn't happen. People are not interested in this. They watch this with horror. They don't know what this is about. And I think what those scenes, like you said, it's nothing to do with football at all, but it is something to do with sectarianism, and it's not a dog whistle, is it? It's actually it's a signal. It's just a whistle. It's a signal. It's a signal to the rest of the country that this is who we are. I look at this, I actually blame the police. Because if that was a load of white working class football supporters kicking off in the street shouting "We want love, Tommy Robinson," which is also a political signal, I don't think the police would behave like that.
Well, they'd have the riot shields, they'd have the water guns, right?
That's right. We saw at the United Kingdom rally. Not only did the Prime Minister put out a massive statement calling everyone far right. I used one of those clips at 9 o'clock. The Mayor of London did. Any other prominent left-wingers did it as well, and then the police are out in riot gear, despite the fact there were tens of arrests.
This is where the government should be intervening, not on our algorithms, but it should be intervening here.
The police have dealt with this wrong.
For years, we have tolerated these every single week in London, hate marches. They are hate marches. You have crowds chanting for jihad. You have crowds chanting for the killing of the Jewish population. You've had the mainstreaming of anti-Semitism. And I would actually argue this mainstream of anti-Semitism has been pretty successful. And it's gone beyond just London. Even in the south, we see it. Even in the north, we see it. The government should be intervening here. It should have a zero-tolerance policy. Now, what can it do? So this is not just a problem of immigration. This is about social cohesion. This is about sectarianism. And if you take a step back, many of the institutions, many of the mosques, many of the religious cultural centres, many of the charities in these particular boroughs or areas have links to Islamist extremists, have links to the Muslim Brotherhood, have links to the regime in Iran. Successively, they have been in the open radicalising, nurturing anti-Semitism. They've been caught red-handed on multiple occasions. What's the government done? Nothing.
Well, remember Boxing Day? Remember the guy that Keir Starmer announced on. He had he came out of his Christmas break to say welcome.
Yes, Allah.
Yeah.
I can't remember his full name, but yes, the guy from Egypt. Yes.
And again, what he did, it's these signals that are coming out.
But this sectarianism is a big problem, by the way, because it's not immigration. These are second. A lot of these people are second.
Well, Keir Starmer has argued, and this is what he would say, by the way. He'd say he would actually say one of his key victories as Prime Minister is rooting out anti-Semitism within the Labour Party. Many people, of course, are going to argue, well, that anti-Semitism didn't disappear. No. It just moved into other factions and is still just as prevalent. I think my biggest worry is when we see like the original court case handed down by the 3 Palestine Action thugs who committed a serious act of violence upon a private property, whacked a sledgehammer over a female police officer's back. It beggars belief that even then we're still not having serious conversations about how dangerous this ideology is becoming in Britain.
Yeah, exactly. It comes to a point where also then you have leaders of political parties defending Palestine Action and even saying that the actions of those individuals was maybe not justified, but they should be let go because they're.
Has Shabana Mahmood done quite a good job on this? She banned some of the extreme clerics. Yeah, has she been a bit tougher than others?
Mahmood's been a bit tougher, true, but there's still no banning of the IRGC. There's still no banning of the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, the Muslim Brotherhood has received, plenty of money over the years from different charities and NGOs, and this sort of dark web of network and funding.
Can I just ask a question to you, actually? Do you think banning the Muslim Brotherhood or the IRGC, would it make any difference to these
absolutely.
people?
Absolutely.
Would it to these people, though?
Absolutely, because it gives government, it gives the authorities a clear mandate to intervene. So they have developed a network of mosques, religious centres, academic institutions, across Britain, this soft power infrastructure, it is designed to recruit, radicalise, nurture homegrown Islamist extremism, nurture anti-Semitism. I've personally spearheaded investigations exposing this activity. We've had IRGC commanders call on British nationals via Zoom, telling them to join their apocalyptic army to end the lives of Jews everywhere in the world. That's a quote, by the way, a direct quote. That charity's still running. The reason being, the IRGCs, all those jihadi propaganda activities right now are not covered by the current sanctions regime.
Is it too embedded now? Are we too?
Well, are we too far gone?
I think what we see is a very vocal minority of people still. I think there's a lot more than there used to be, and I am worried about it. As anybody who watches this show knows, I have spoken a lot about this, but I still think the vast majority of the British public need to wake up to it. I think that's the challenge. Yeah. A spokesman for the Met said this. Police were called at 9:57 on Friday the 3rd of July to reports of disorder on Edgware Road. Officers attended the scene where around 1,000 people were gathered in the road. The group was safely dispersed and no arrests were made at the scene. Interesting. Make sure you tune into GB News. From midnight tonight, we have a very special programme live from Washington, D.C. Of course, President Donald Trump's landmark address to the nation, a spectacular military flyover, star-studded performances, and all the celebrations, of course, as America marks its 250th birthday, can you believe it? Our America 250 special begins at midnight and continues all the way into breakfast. It's going to be a pretty big show. All right, look, coming up, we're going to catch up with Ben Leo, who's in Mexico now, I believe. He's going all over the world, this guy. It's been sensational TV, I have to tell you. Absolutely stellar stuff. And I'm going to go through the front page as well. Some interesting stuff on those front pages. Of course, we're all looking forward now to the early hours of Monday morning and that crunch game, so we'll find out more in just a minute.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A lot of fine weather at the moment throughout Europe, especially through the Mediterranean, where it's going to be hot in Portugal during the next few days, and less wet for Greece compared with the last few days. Showers on Sunday tending to ease, but there will still be the odd shower or thunderstorm. Italy, widespread sunny skies, the breeze here easing after a blustery few days. But look at Lisbon, 39 Celsius. That's unusually hot for the time of year, and it continues into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's still going to be a bit of a northwest split over the UK for the next couple of days, but as we go in towards Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, temperatures are going to turn a bit hotter in a few places. Now it's all down to this high pressure system we've got out towards the southwest, and we still have these wavy frontal systems across the north as well, but we do have a little bit of a ridge of high pressure building here. So although it was wet through the afternoon across western Scotland, it is turning a lot more patchier, especially across northern England as we go through the overnight period. Across the south, we do have some clearer skies, but another mild night to come. Temperatures around those mid-teens, so it will be a pretty mild start to a Sunday morning. And as we head through the second half of the weekend, it is going to be very similar to Saturday. We've still got some rain out towards the west, a little bit drier over towards the east. Orkney and Shetland seeing the best of the brightness first thing. Northern Ireland does see some showery rain across the north, and northern England may just be a little bit wetter than what they saw over the last couple of days. Some patchy cloud across the Midlands, but again, South Wales, southern England getting the best of the brightness for the start of Sunday. As we go through the day, this rain will slowly start to drift its way eastwards by the late morning and into the early afternoon. So it is turning increasingly wet once again across western Scotland. But this cloud across the Midlands and Wales, it will lift, it will start to break, and we will start to see some sunnier skies. So in that sunshine, it is going to feel like a pretty warm to even hot day. Highs of around 29 degrees in the far southeast. Now to start the new week, again, it is a very similar day to come. Brightness across the south. It may turn a little bit brighter across northern England by the afternoon. A lot of rain across the north as well. But over the next couple of days, still got that cloud in the north and sunshine in the south. But as we go through Monday, Tuesday, those temperatures into the 30s.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's go through our front pages together. The Sunday Telegraph. Blair warns Burnham not to hit investors. Will he just go away? He's like a bad smell. This bloke just sticks around forever. He's now getting involved with Burnham as well. Is he running the country still? The Mirror. Oh, so we've got the Express on Sunday first. Off the rails. It's kicking off, is what they're saying there, of course. That is the front page of the Mirror. I beg your pardon. Let me just go through these one by one. The front page of the Mirror, kicking off. World Cup fiasco. Anger at FIFA U-turn over England start time. The Sunday Express. Off the rails. Troubled HS2 spends £77 million in just 1 year on consultants. This is a joke. A joke. Sunday People, kicking up a storm. FIFA row over start time for England's Mexico clash. OK, yeah, well, look, this is the big story, isn't it? It is all about this Mexico stuff. But so yesterday I was here and we got breaking news come in that the game's been brought forward. And the first thing I said was, well, this was Keir Starmer's last forced U-turn. It's the last thing he most popular policy he's ever made was getting U-turn by Mexican weather.
It's a sign from God.
Yeah, well, it was. It was a sign from God, wasn't it? Sorry. And now they have to U-turn on the U-turn. Yeah, yeah. Like Labour is running FIFA at the moment. But I guess now, 1 a.m. start. A lot of pubs are preparing for this.
Yeah.
You going to be watching the game, 1 a.m?
No, because I'm lazy and I like to be in bed at a normal time. And also, while I've watched every England game thus far, I think that's possibly a little bit past my bedtime. I have a 9-to-5 job. I need to go to it.
I will say in your defence, Will, you do work for the Taxpayers Alliance.
I do indeed.
And you need to keep the economy. Someone needs to keep the economy going,
Well,
right?
within those few hours, you never know. Like, something could be horribly happen to taxpayers and they need someone on the line to defend me. But one thing I will say, actually, from a good perspective, is actually I think this will really be good for the hospitality industry. I think it'll be really good. I think the hospitality industry has been treated very, very terribly by this government with this, and national insurance rise, with the Employment Rights Act, with hiking the minimum wage, and just basically destroying lots of pubs and restaurants in our country. I think actually this will be a great boon, and I really hope that everyone has a really great time. The hospitality industry makes plenty of money that night.
I'm going to say now, I won't watch it, but I will, because I always say that. I always go, oh, I'm not going to watch it. But then I always will. Well, I watched it. I mean, last night I stayed up watching, what was it last night?
Well, I was here, so I don't know.
Because this is, you start watching 5 minutes, and then you have to watch 10 minutes.
Argentina, Cape Verde.
Yes, that was right. I watched that. It was great, actually. It was great.
You should have been watching this. You should have been watching GB News.
I know, but I got hooked in, and this is the thing. So tomorrow night, I'm going to go to bed, it's too late. I'll just watch 5 minutes and then I'll watch the whole lot. And then just like everyone else, I've
got to say, I'm really happy that it's gone back to that original time.
So you'll be able to watch it?
I'll be able to watch it. You can join me tomorrow night. I'm going to do a massive warm-up to the game. Of course, we finish here at midnight, so come and join me. It's going to be really, really good fun. I promise you won't want to miss it. We'll make a really big spectacle of it. Kaz, are you going to watch it?
I can't wait. We've got 2 pubs.
Lovely.
One for the reserve. And we've got this. No, really, really important. I completely agree with your assessment. Backing British pubs, that's what it's all about. It's brought the country together, and come on England, it's coming home.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. We've got a lot to contend with.
It's not coming
we are
home.
going to speak. No, of course it is. Of course it's coming home. Of course it is. We're going to smash the Mexicans. Even Greg's apparently has shelved Mexican-flavoured pasties. There you go, in solidarity. But we're going to speak to Ben Leo very soon. He is in Mexico, by the way, so we'll talk to him shortly. The Sunday Express. Let's just go to that quickly. Off the rails. Troubled HS2. Can you believe this? It's costing £77 million a year of your money just on consultants, right? For full disclosure, I worked on this project 15 years ago before a single part of HS2 was built. That's how long it's taking us to build a railway that is going to cut 15 to 20 minutes off people's journeys. Meanwhile, Japan built a bullet train, 30 years ago, 20 years ago? Will, I have to put this to you. What a disaster for taxpayers this is.
Complete disaster. Well, HS2 has been a disaster from taxpayers from the very, very beginning. I remember when obviously I wasn't at the TPA at the time, but when HS2 first kicked off, we said this is a huge white elephant. This is going to cost over £100 billion. I think that was one of our later estimates. And you know what the government said? Oh, don't be ridiculous. You guys at the Taxpayers Alliance are making this stuff up again. You back of the fag packet stuff. And then Heidi Alexander, Transport Secretary, she was in the Commons just a few weeks ago, and she admitted that it was going to cost over £100 billion.
This should have never. We should never have done this. We desperately need a rail system that works. This is not it. No. We need a system that can go across the country. From Nottingham to, if I wanted to go to the west of the Midlands, I'd have to change. I changed 3 times.
Well, this is the thing, right? Councillor, I think we need to connect Edinburgh up. We need to connect Scotland to our country. We need to connect Cardiff better. I know we have got good links to Cardiff, to be fair, but we need to be able to get across the country really quickly.
And make it more affordable. It's cheaper to go abroad than it is to get across the UK.
Exactly.
It's completely insane. 77 million in just 1 year on consultants. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. I mean, I've worked with consultants in the past, and all they come and do is a rebranding exercise, put out some jargon, square the circle, and then they charge you millions of pounds. Completely.
And this is not the first time this has happened, by the way. Consultants consistently rip off government departments and quangos and use taxpayers' money to do so. I mean, one good thing, what would be nice about Labour Party for a minute or two, actually, one good thing Labour government has done is they've actually rooted out a lot of Tory consultant waste that was happening in government departments over the last few years.
Well, this is my worry.
One good thing, but the issue is that it's still happening in HS2. I mean, what are they consulting on?
Well, I know, that's why I don't
what are they consulting
either.
on?
It's all a lot for the average British person who's struggling. who just wants their government to work. We're talking about devolution again, by the way, because of Andy Burnham. Well, this is the sort of waste that you pick up with devolution. More politicians, more consultants, more of that rubbish. Just build a bullet train, right? Can't be that hard. If we've got to knock down some bat shelters here and there, sorry, we've got to build stuff. Anyway, look, coming up, we've got loads more on the front pages to bring you as well, so I'll bring you some of that in just a tick.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Yeah, Cameron, Miriam, it's certainly feeling hot here today, 30 degrees, and it's only going to get hotter, of course, across the country. Many people feeling the heat as well. Those red weather warnings for extreme heat in place, saying that this heat could even cause a risk to life, urging people to take precautions. But spare a thought for people working in this heat, particularly those in kitchens. We can't come to the beach without a fish and chip shop. This is the Modern World Fish and Chip Shop in Brighton, and Ibram runs it. Ibram, just how hot is it inside your kitchen today?
It's an absolute scorcher, actually. It's okay. We're just about coping. We're taking precautions. We reduced one fry from 2 fries. We're down to 1. There's not much sales in food at the moment. It's mostly people trying to keep hydrated. Waters, soft drinks, ice creams, beers.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
And the reason why Alex's head is a little bit sore this morning is because we are Trick Award winners.
Yes.
Again. For the 4th year in a row. We're absolutely delighted, aren't we? We're buzzing with this.
We are. And, yeah, I need some more sleep.
Listen to that voice. You sound like Orson Welles.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Hey, everybody. Got a very
Alex went
sultry voice today.
Yeah, you sound good. You sound good.
Okay,
but you went for celebratory drinks last night, didn't you?
Yeah, you could put it that way.
Yeah.
You could put it celebratory
How's the
drinks.
head this morning?
Yeah, I think that the hangover's coming. Let's put it that way. Hangover is still due.
Oh, there you are. Look, there we
look.
are. GB News Breakfast winner. So it was in the news category yesterday, and we are absolutely delighted that you chose us because it is voted for by you.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, that is the question. Good morning to you both. It is very hot. Right now it's 25 degrees. Ordinarily, it might be this temperature about midday, but no, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 25 degrees and temperatures set to soar throughout the day into the mid-30s. If it gets higher than 35.1 degree today, then today will be the hottest day of the year. Many people forecasting that we could reach that threshold today. So that's one to look out for. But as you can see, many people keeping cool today. Somebody's here in the water. We've got people out to sea swimming as well, and many on the shoreline enjoying this hot weather, including John here. I can speak to now. John, thanks for joining us this morning on GB News. Have you been in the sea yet? How are you keeping cool?
Yeah, I went in the sea. We were down about 7 o'clock this morning. Literally dived straight in.
GB News, the People's Channel.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Some more front pages for you. Let's go to them now. The front page of the Mail. Burnham plots homes tax rate on the middle class, as if they haven't suffered enough. The Sun, 3 lions. Harry, I'd love everybody to be toasting win till dawn, then have 3 lions. I'll have a little bit more of a read into that one. The Times revealed Nigel Farage secretly funded by convicted criminal. The Observer, the gravy train. Firstly, on HS2, the Transport Secretary has said this before. Taxpayers along the route have been let down by many years of mismanagement on HS2. I share their anger about the waste. We will get the job done, but we will also take every opportunity to save time and money in the process, getting a grip on delivery and controlling costs. Right, let's go first of all. Where were we? Let's go first of all to this story on Nigel Farage. Yeah. I'm just going to read this on the front page of the Times here. Nigel Farage secretly funded by a convicted criminal. This is a Sunday Times piece here. Nigel Farage failed to disclose that a convicted criminal and crypto crypto gambler funded his operation in the year before his election to Parliament. The Reform leader appears to have broken parliamentary rules by accepting security, drivers, staff and accommodation paid for by George Cottrell, who was jailed for participating in a US money laundering conspiracy. Farage did not declare the benefits that included the recruitment of a right-wing activist who managed his social media, produced political content and helped him to gain hundreds of thousands of followers. So look, Will, what do you make of this story? Nigel Farage has consistently said, this happened before I was even going to run as an MP, so why on earth would I have declared this stuff? He says it's all above board, right? What should we make of this?
Well, yeah, it's complicated, isn't it? Because a part of me thinks that does this stink a little bit. It does. I also don't like the fact that he's been associated with this George guy who, like it said, has been done for money laundering. Also, the problem is that, yes, OK, benefits were not declared to the Commons, but to some extent you do need to declare things after the fact. And if I know, yeah, it was done before he was an MP. The same with this £5 million donation. Sure, you weren't an MP when you received it, but if you still have it, as he apparently does still have that £5 million, he admitted he still has it, that type of stuff does need to be declared. You need to be above board and transparent as possible. And I think that him being associated with this guy, who, I admit, I don't know anything about him, and I've just got the story in front of me, there's a part of me that feels really, really uncomfortable with this and is really, really makes me think, oh, OK, this is definitely one of the story. Like the £5 million story, that's definitely going to cut through.
Yeah, Kazra, Farage has said he did not need to disclose that. I'm just reading this as we're getting it. These are fresh front pages, by the way. Farage has said he did not need to disclose the pre-election support because it predated his decision to run for Parliament. He said he did not need to disclose the use of the townhouse as it was provided by a close friend. What do you make of this?
No, he's not new to politics, is he? Farage has been in politics for a very, very long time. And above all else, politicians should be guided by integrity and transparency. Clearly, this is a story that isn't going to go away, like the 5 million, and rightly so. Because if he's saying, oh, it's to reward him for on the 5 million, for example, on a certain issue, for example, the Brexit campaign, well, you know, if someone gave you a bottle of champagne or a box of chocolates, you know, that seems about right. But if someone gives you £5 million and later you are now leading a political party, it's quite likely that they'll want something in return. So being guided by integrity, I think, is the most important thing. And there is there's a gap.
I think what Reform's got to realise now is that there are millions of people in this country who are really relying on them. They are putting their faith in them, they're putting their trust in them. They need different politics. They don't want the same politics that we've had for the last 20 years. And I think Reform needs to start to think very seriously about those people and not get involved in this sort of... it's muck.
Yeah, because it looks like business as usual,
yes,
right?
It does. Yeah.
All right, look, we've got loads more. We can talk about this subject as well in the next hour. There's loads more on the front pages here. Burnham plotting a tax raid on middle-class people, the 250th celebration of America, of course, and hopefully we're going to be joined by Ben Leo to give us some more insights on what's going on in Mexico. See you in 2.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's still going to be a bit of a northwest split over the UK for the next couple of days, but as we go in towards Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, temperatures are going to turn a bit hotter in a few places. Now, it's all down to this high pressure system we've got out towards the southwest, and we still have these wavy frontal systems across the north as well, but we do have a little bit of a ridge of high pressure building here. So although it was wet through the afternoon across western Scotland, it is turning a lot more patchier, especially across northern England, as we go through the overnight period. Across the south, we do have some clearer skies, but another mild night to come. Temperatures around those mid-teens, so it will be a pretty mild start to a Sunday morning. And as we head through the second half of the weekend, it is going to be very similar to Saturday. We've still got some rain out towards the west, a little bit drier over towards the east. Orkney and Shetland seeing the best of the brightness first thing. Northern Ireland does see some showery rain across the north, and northern England may just be a little bit wetter than what they saw over the last couple of days. Some patchy cloud across the Midlands, but again, South Wales, southern England getting the best of the brightness for the start of Sunday. As we go through the day, this rain will slowly start to drift its way eastwards by the late morning and into the early afternoon. So it is turning increasingly wet once again across western Scotland. But this cloud across the Midlands and Wales, it will lift, it will start to break, and we will start to see some sunnier skies. So in that sunshine, it is going to feel like a pretty warm to even hot day. Highs of around 29 degrees in the far southeast. Now, to start the new week, again, it is a very similar day to come. Brightness across the south. It may turn a little bit brighter across northern England by the afternoon. A lot of rain across the north as well. But over the next couple of days, still got that cloud in the north and sunshine in the south. But as we go through Monday, Tuesday, those temperatures into the 30s.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Tony Blair's back, everybody. He's now advising Burnham not to hit investors. Will he ever go away? Meghan is not coming over to the UK with the kids. That's another chance for a lack of reconciliation between the king there. We've also got HS2. What do you think about that? 77 million quid on consultants in 1 year. Nigel Farage secretly funded by convicted criminal. We'll dig into this story because not everything might be as it seems. We'll have a look at that. And JD Vance, leaders have failed Britain. Loads more to come.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests.